Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestling for Life Network. We got a news update for everyone out there. Releases are happening as we speak. People are being let go. Smackdown is moving to a new home. We got Elimination Chamber going down under, and so much more to talk about. So tune in, folks. It's going to be a fun one. Hi, everybody. I am KJ White. That is Big Nick. We are the Wrestling for Life Network, and we are back at it again. Hopefully, everyone out there is having a wonderful, wonderful day. And we are going to let you guys know and give you an update on everything that's going on in the wrestling world. We're trying to catch it by the minute, but the reports are coming so fast. But obviously, we see it in our live chat here right now. Big Nick, WWE releasing talent, which had been rumored to be coming. Here it is.
Yeah, they do it pretty much once a year, and you kind of expected it with the merger. I felt like we had the internal people, the behind the scenes staff and everything get released, and now we've got on-screen talent getting released. Do we want to run through the names?
We can absolutely run through the names.
So Emma, first name up.
Emma, listen, we talked about this before we went live. Emma was a little heartbreaking today because they announced, which we will talk about, the fact that they announced that WWE is going to do Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia. You know, so to Neil Dashwood, Emma puts it out there of like, this is a dream come true, and then follows it up with, never mind, I don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
So Emma doesn't really surprise me in the sense that she hasn't been used a lot. Again, I think they could have used her, kind of in the same vein as Chelsea Green, but not the case.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of these people is it seems like they coulda, shoulda, would have been used. When she came back, you really expected like, okay, they might actually do something with her this time and everything. And then she just kind of went away. And also her partner there, Riddick Moss, also got released. So I turned around, got married, and then said, thanks for coming.
Yeah, you guys get the 2-for-1 package and you are on the way out the door. Moss, I mean, I think Madcap Moss killed Moss. It'll be very interesting if he can latch on somewhere like an Impact or an AEW and kind of show us. I think there was talent there that we never got to see. Emma is going to bolster, if she goes back to Impact as Tennille Dashwood, or if she goes over to AEW, she would be a welcome addition to that roster.
I think those two would be a good fit going over to Impact. I thought Moss was going to kind of get a bit of a push coming out of the whole, Happy Corbin shtick and everything. But like you said right there, with Madcap killing Moss, of a lot of these people, the gimmick is real, and how they were booked is really kind of set them up for failure, I feel.
A little bit in some cases, for sure.
And then, well, speaking of a gimmick setting up for failure is Elias. I thought there was so much potential in Elias. We had everything with Walk with Elias, and the crowd was deafening. This man never had to take a bump. He just had to sit there and come out and pretend to strum a guitar.
Yeah, and get interrupted. No, you didn't even have to get through a song. You just had to, and it became the point where they were waiting for that punchline, which I personally enjoyed. Out of the list of releases, this is the one I think out of the group that I'm really like, oh man, I really think they could have done a lot with this guy, and they just didn't. So it's unfortunate, but Elias will be walking elsewhere.
Yeah, Ezekiel killed Elias with that one. And it's weird because like a day or so before, you had it going around to where there was speculation and rumor that he wasn't under contract with them anymore, but he hadn't been released or anything like that.
Apparently, it's been since 2022.
Really?
That he didn't have an official release.
Ooh, that's weird. That's weird.
Or so he didn't have an official contract.
Gotcha. I like Steven's comment there real quick. I won't even click on it. But he's saying how now we can get Elias versus Boogs in a Guitar Hero match because Boogs is also on the chopping block.
Yeah, Mr. Boogs, we barely knew ya. Again, not a huge surprise. Big dude, had some injury problems. I don't know. This one, I mean,
weird that the last thing you really remember with Boogs is him tearing his fucking quad, and then you never really saw him again after that. Him being paired up with Nakamura, and then that one injury seemed to just derail him completely.
Yeah, I think he came back from that injury, and they didn't really know what to do with him. They kind of played with the idea, kind of talking about what Steve said, of putting him and Elias kind of in something, and I was like, that's going to be cool, but it never came to be. So,
And that's a guy that you saw them use constantly in like the Old Spice commercials. I think he's still currently in a Snickers commercial that's airing for WWE.
right.
So he had that crossover-ish with that of he was, you know, selling GM trucks with Nakamura and everything, or Chevy
Right.
trucks.
Who else on that list? I can see this.
Also on that list, well, we got Flop Dollar. I'm
Yeah,
not sad about this one at all. AJ Francis, he did more on Twitter than I think he did in anything in the ring.
Do you think they will attempt to reunite Hit Row in AEW, and why?
The only one that they could do it with is with AJ, is with Top Dollar. BFAB and Ashante are still there.
Oh, that's okay.
They only released AJ because, like I said, I think Twitter figures got the best of him. I feel that man was coming at anybody and everybody, and pretty much, like I said, spent most of his time on Twitter and not learning how to get over the top rope.
Yeah, I mean, again, we saw him in the ring not do overly great, and then, you know, it doesn't surprise me now.
But he's the guy that they used for like the A&E shows and everything. That's part of initially how he somewhat got back there, is because they used him to be their host on, you know, the hidden gem shows and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you go back to doing that. Maybe they'll sign him to a different type of contract, and he gets a, you know, some type of entertainment deal instead of a wrestling deal. It might be better for him.
Right. We also have Shelton Benjamin on the list.
This one makes me sad. I can, you know, we talked about it. You can bring him in a different role. I mean, the gentleman, he's in phenomenal shape, but he is 50, and I think he's great. I wish he would have, one of the most underrated WWE superstars in history, and it's sad to see him go.
100%. He super underrated, especially I liked his IC title run, and also when he was, you know, the gold standard. Ain't no stopping me, no. But I think I'd like to see if they brought him in as an agent. Like we've already seen Bobby Roode's been backstage as an agent. Nick Aldis is allegedly backstage as an agent.
Yeah,
he's a guy that even if either an agent or a coach, because a lot of the younger talent, I think, could learn something from a guy like Shelton. Because like you said, he's 49, almost 50, and still hit moves like he was 25.
Oh yeah, he's in phenomenal shape. Like it's amazing, and it just I don't get it. I don't know why they couldn't have found something more productive for Shelton, but they're not using him. And we'll talk at the end about kind of the overall picture of this. But yeah, I'm bummed out about Shelton for sure.
Right. And I think last but not least, we didn't mention Aaliyah. Enough said right there. I'm amazed she was still under contract with them this point.
Yeah, we thought maybe Aaliyah would. I mean, I give the WWE credit for keeping her around. She never really came to be anything more than, you know, filler. They gave her the 317 record over poor Natty. But yeah, you know what? Aaliyah has literally, for those who don't know, she's been in the WWE system for a decade. Like it's been a hot minute.
Been with WWE since 2015.
Yeah, so
spent nearly 6 years in NXT before getting drafted to Smackdown in 2021. Elias has been there since 2014.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, Mustafa. Sorry, Nick. Sorry.
No, I was just saying the same thing with Moss. But yeah, Mustafa Ali, probably the next two names are probably the biggest names out of people that got released.
Yeah, Mustafa Ali. Now, there's mixed reports. I did read a report that Mustafa Ali's release was not one of the typical budget cuts, that this is a unique case. It is separate from the group. Now, he's had issues since what? The pandemic, like since the pandemic was hitting.
Yeah.
He's been at, like, he asked for his release.
Since he was the hacker.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he did the hacker stick and everything, and they never really paid it off. And then he wanted out. They didn't want to let him go. They were teasing it back and forth. They finally let him do what he wanted. And this is weird because you even brought my attention to it of he was booked for NXT for No Mercy.
Yeah,
we had a match with Dom.
Yeah, we were expecting him. They had kind of built him up. I thought NXT was a good place for him. And I know a lot of people are excited. I know our friend Luna Havoc Felt that they could have done a little better with him. I didn't love Ali. Like, even when I felt they gave him a rub, it never got over for me. But he is a good in the ring. He'll do great if he does go to a New Japan or an AEW, even Impact, with like an X Division guy. There is upside to Ali. He just never got over with me. And considering there seemed to be an issue in the relationship for quite a while, I mean, this is a good opportunity for Ali to prove to everyone what he can really do.
Yeah, and well, I was more of a fan of him than you are, obviously. But that's the thing, is he was very, you either really got behind him or you really didn't.
Yeah.
There was no real in between with him. I find it really interesting that they gave him that like politician type video and he was going that gimmick. He was finally getting what we all kind of thought he wanted, and then they turn around and release him.
Yeah, and I mean that's a little bit of the surprising part. I mean, even with someone like Emma today going like, "Oh, Elimination Chamber in Australia, oh, bye." Like, there was some things where you felt like people felt like they were secure, that they were going to be okay. And again, that's the rough part of this, the human element of this. It makes it sad, but at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen with Ali. I don't know where it's going to go. They seem to have some type of plan, but I guess they pulled the plug on that one.
Right. And then Dolph Ziggler, Zigglypuff, has also been released.
This one's the biggest surprise to me.
If there was a guy that seemed probably always going to be a WWE guy, like I think we're saying it before, of he's a steady hand. He's your measuring stick for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the guys that, like, and again, we'll talk about it in a second, but I could see Tony Khan jumping on Dolph Ziggler, getting him in there. Maybe he can work an angle or a tag team with his brother. Between the ropes, he's going to give you $1 million. On the mic, he's great. He's a vet. Is he a 2-time Grand Slam or just a 1-time?
His
accolades. Where was Victor mentioned it as well? I mean, Dolph Ziggler definitely has, he stood the test of time, been through many rounds of cuts. This one really surprises me, but then part of me thinks, well, we haven't seen him in months, and what were they, what was coming next for him anyway? What were they going to do with him?
Yeah, that's the thing, is he had really gotten slotted into that spot to where you are there just to kind of help get other people over. I mean, most recent stuff was when he went down to NXT. Outside of that, haven't really seen him at all. I think he absolutely, if he went to AEW, I think he'd probably fit in with them. And depending on how they book him, he'll maybe get, well, if we're doing it how Tony Khan would actually do it, it'll probably be like one good week with him of his debut, and then he'll get jobbed out or something. But there is potential if he went over there that they could do something and still use him as kind of honestly a top guy.
I think in AEW, he could go over there as a vet, heel or babyface, kind of like the Christian thing we're seeing right now, where, unlike Mr. Jericho, Dolph, I think, can still has gas in the tank. And at the end of the day, I think he, again, to help get young guys over, Dolph's a great guy to do that. He will put a shine on anybody. You want somebody to look like an absolute world beater? Put him in the ring with Dolph. Dolph will sell the shit out of the entire thing.
Oh, absolutely. You could just look at him with Goldberg, to where he sat there and got Goldberg the most over he had been in probably a fucking decade, just by taking 3 spears.
Yeah. Oh, epic. Right.
But could they do where Dolph's like Jericho's stunt double, if he goes in and actually wrestles the match and, Jericho just does the mic work and everything?
Yeah, right. Yeah, just here we go. But so, yeah, I mean, I see a lot of reaction to this, a lot of people chiming in. We got people in the chat as well. Dolph Ziggler is a Triple Crown winner. He very much is. Dolph could be happy doing stand-up comedy. That's the other part. I don't think Dolph was mad. He was getting a paycheck from the WWE to be a part of their company, and he was doing all his side gigs. So this just opens it up.
Yeah. Dolph just seemed really content with where he was at, and that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about it. He's getting older in age as well. And again, when we talk about the companies, I mean, moving on from older talent is a thing that all sports go through, right? We're seeing an influx of the younger talent come up. So some of the older talent or not used talent is going to move on. And I saw a lot of reaction. Again, as on a personal level, I get it. Losing your job, getting laid off. budget cuts are mofo, especially when it's a big giant company doing it. I hate it, but in the realm of the wrestling world, any one of the names we listed, with maybe an exception, if they were getting a hard, like Aaliyah pushed against Rhea Ripley, nobody wants to see that. The minute they did it, people would have complained. The same people are like, I can't believe they let her go, would also be the same people who were like, why are they pushing her? I mean, really,
Yeah,
Ali, Elias, maybe.
there's some people in this group that I'm like, really, they could have done something with.
Yeah.
And then there's some, it's more of respectfully, it makes sense. Not to mention they did just have a huge merger. So just like we expected releases with personnel talent, because you're not going to pay two people to do the same job.
Yeah.
You're not going to have people on your roster that you're paying just to do nothing.
Yeah, and I think when you bring in the bigger company, you merge, you have other people that have a say in things, you will face that. You'll have that moment of, okay, and keep in mind, if you're bringing in Jade, if you're looking at other potential free agents, you are going to try and clear up a budget.
Punk.
And again, Punk. If you're trying to be a responsible, profitable business, and we talk about Tony all the time, as far as the unlimited bank account. But when you have a publicly traded company and your CFO comes to you and says, hey, we want to stay within this budget for this, this section of our company, what can we do without? Now we're seeing all that.
I had heard rumors and everything going around, I want to say last week, if not maybe the week before, that once the Endeavor deal went through, that they were looking to trim some stuff up to maximize the profitability for the company. And that's the shitty part about this, is that at the end of the day, it's still a business running here. It's still, there's going to be the business decisions. Like I saw a tweet from WrestleOps, they're quoting Fightful, so I haven't confirmed it fully, but there was some frustration among members of the roster we spoke to that WWE announced a $1.4 billion Smackdown deal, which we can talk about after this, and then cut talent. One top star said that most of the list barely had a chance considering they weren't booked, and called it a circle that couldn't be escaped.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid. I can definitely understand that sentiment, especially, again, you announced the giant PLE in Australia. You announce $1.4 billion TV deal. But at the same time, I get the idea of when you look at your roster depth and you go, okay, these are the people we're utilizing. These are the talent we see future in. Again, even if Aaliyah or Emma or Moss or even Ali to a greater degree, maybe, or a lesser degree, top dollar. I mean, are any of those really going to be needle movers in any capacity? I don't think so. Even if they go to an AEW, I hope they do. I hope they find they land on their feet, but I don't see them as needle movers, as, we're going to put asses in seats with any of those things.
But you still also do need depth. I get, though, what you're saying, if they're not going to be a huge top draw. And this is also, though, what makes having an alternative like an Impact, like a New Japan, like an AEW great just for pro wrestling, because you have all of these guys who are literally talking about, oh, that person could go there, or that person could go there. Oh, I wonder how that person would do over there. It sucks that they got released, but they're not going to be really hard pressed to probably find somewhere that they could go if they wanted to.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, again, I trust me, we've all been in positions where where we're looking for employment, and we've all had those days, trust me. And I have all the sympathy in the world. I'm sure they're bummed out. We talked about Emma. Like, Emma was like, probably woke up this morning, saw the news about going to Australia, and was like, this is awesome. If I can only work myself into an angle, I might, this would be great. And then she gets the phone call.
Right.
Like,
well, did you see even Moss joked about it? He's like, I didn't even answer the phone. How did this happen?
Yeah, no, I thought that was kind of comical. Now, just to touch on quickly, I will make it clear. Only top dollar out of Hit Row has been released at this time. Surprises me, but we'll see. Maybe B-Fab can go back to NXT and try again. Adonis has got some upside, maybe, but we haven't seen
Adonis in NXT and B-Fab as his manager.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah,
we act like Hit Row never happened.
Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson from
Oh, there you go.
Metaphor.
Join Metaphor. They'd be Meta 5.
Meta 5, Meta 6, Meta 8.
Meta, yeah, it would just
Never
be
Meta 10. Never Meta 10.
But yeah, apparently speaking of NXT, now I only heard this reported from a couple sources, and I don't know how reliable it
Meltzer's
is yet.
lapdog, Brian Alvarez.
Yeah, maybe.
All right,
But
well, you look that up.
what's
Sorry,
that?
I was just gonna say thank you to the couple people in the chat, like Ronnie, Steven, Victor, all that, saying happy birthday to me, everything. Appreciate it. But that's how you know the wrestling don't stop.
That's it.
And we don't stop.
Thank you, Ronnie. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the rumor is that another round of releases is expected later this afternoon, early this evening, around 5 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, we will see how that's impacted. What NXT, apparently the focus will be NXT for this one. This one's going to be interesting. I think for me, this is the NXT releases might cause a little more debate in my head than some of the WWE releases.
Really, I think probably this just came on me like a bad idea. Does Dana Brooke survive the NXT?
I was just thinking that. I was literally just thinking that. It's the funniest shit. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know.
I don't want to start guessing at who gets fired.
No. And I know our buddy Ringside Anthony, we were talking about Tamina. You know, Tamina survived, but I think she's furniture. She ain't going nowhere. You're going to keep her forever like luggage.
Right.
But yeah, it will be very interesting. But no, Chambers, don't cheer for that. Don't cheer for that.
Yeah, don't cheer for that.
But
my birthday's today, not yesterday. Yeah. Well, Ezekiel, Elias, Elvis, is that the whole family tree there for Elias? But anybody can be a needle mover if you have the right person with the right ideal. Look at Toni Storm in EW. She was nothing in WWE. She was far from nothing in WWE.
Yeah, she was misused in WWE. And I think when Toni Storm got released, I'd be like, ah, shit. But not like, maybe I could see Elias going on and finding a groove and being a star and really finding a way to grab the crowd. I think Dolph can at his best, like even on WWE, when Dolph showed up, everybody was like, oh, fuck, Dolph's here.
Elias could be a solid mid-carder right now, still in WWE. That's the thing, is the Ezekiel gimmick killed him.
And I believe that with Ali, with Riddick, with Top Dollar, Aaliyah, you could do whatever you wanted. You could book them any way you wanted. They're never going to get there. They're never going to be, the face of the company. They're never going to be top merch movers. It's just the way. And I get the sentiment from Elvis. But again, Toni Storm is a way big difference. There's a greater difference between, easy for me to say, a greater difference between Aaliyah and a Toni Storm. Toni Storm, they fucked up with. Taya Valkyrie, they made a misstep.
Oh, yeah. Big fuck up.
So, yeah, I mean, I get the sentiment, but again, these are athletes in a large part. Like if Dolph showed up on Raw last week and they were putting him one-on-one with Seth, the internet would have blown up with like how dumb it was and I can't believe they're doing this. And so again, they're not, I heard rumors that Karrion Kross was on the chopping block, but never, and apparently that wasn't the case. That's one where I'm like, ooh, guys, really? But again, it's unfortunate.
Well, and especially some of these guys just got signed back too. Like got brought back, did nothing, and then got sent on your way again.
Yeah. Like when they brought Emma back in, I was like, all right, let's go.
Right.
But they didn't do anything with her, so it really surprised me.
Well, there was one from Daniel. Oh, Top Dollar's going to start his own show called Learning the Ropes. If you can get over the top rope.
Right.
Emma could be good in AEW.
I agree. And if she goes back to Impact, she'll be solid. She was great there.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Boogs, who is it? Oh, Keyshawn said Boogs would be good in Impact. I think Boogs would be fantastic in Impact. Put him and Joe Hendry together.
Dude.
Money.
Great minds, buddy.
Right.
Yeah, him and Joe Hendry would be great. Now Joe Hendry has a guitar man. For all the music videos.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Right.
Speaking of Anthony, you some of the man saying, I'm surprised Karrion Kross survived this round of cuts. I'm not, because I still think there's potential there. There's still, if they can just book him fucking right, that he's a license to print money. He's your new next giant spooky guy.
Yeah, and I think that's where like certain people will survive. Like they might not be getting used very well right now, like a Karrion Kross, but the WWE looks at him and goes, "Man, that guy could be a star."
There's still meat on the bones. Pause.
Yeah, there's a little bit of beef to go.
Right. Well, speaking of beef, we got Boogs versus Moose as an idea.
Just for all the O's.
Moose, Boogs.
Ali complained too much about his spot and his booking. Being unhappy with your spot's fine, but he was airing dirty laundry too much in public. Now, I did read reports, and I haven't been able to confirm this yet, but as soon as we do, I'll let you guys know. But I did read reports, I believe from Fightful, that Ali was unique. He wasn't a part of everyone else.
Well, he was the only guy getting actively booked and actively pushed that's been released. Everybody else, when's the last time you saw them on TV? I mean, Top Dollar was losing to LA Knight. Shelton probably in a backstage thing with Cedric, where even you questioned earlier if Cedric was still
like where's Cedric?
Company. Elias hasn't been seen since Ezekiel, or since he was burying Ezekiel. Ziggler hasn't been seen since Robert Roode has. Riddick Moss and Emma both haven't been seen since they ran off and got married. Not complaining about that. And then Aaliyah, Christ, when was she ever seen?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's it, right? Like, again, I think at times they put a little bit of shine. Well, they gave Aaliyah a sip of tea, but even those 6 years in NXT, there was never like, oh, she's really good. Maybe trying really hard, good job, but she never really stood out.
But I was just saying how that makes, like you were saying, how the Ali situation might be quote unquote unique, because he was the one, he was literally booked for a title match against Dirty Dom versus I hate calling him Dirty Dom, Dominic Mysterio at No Mercy.
Yep.
So he was the one that actively was getting a push, actively really involved, one of the mainstay, honestly, in regular on NXT on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, very interesting names still out there. And that's, I think, again, I'm not sympathizing with the WWE at all. I completely, I completely struggle with big companies letting people go. But I mean, it is, we see it all the goddamn time. I said, we've all been victim of it. And I still think that we don't even realize, like, there's names that we've forgotten. Like we said, Cedric. We were talking last
night. People reporting Tamina had gotten released.
Yeah, which I mean, Tamina's still kicking around. You still have the Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
I hate that they're missing, which even
there you go.
Here was asking. Yeah, but what are the odds that Carlito gets cut before he makes his return?
Possible.
I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool.
And I guess maybe internally that could also be part of the conversation of like, who doesn't get released? You have to find something to do, or please release them.
Well, fair enough, but this is an interesting thing here, because we kind of automatically assume Ziggler is going to go over to AEW and be with his brother Ryan Nemeth and all of that. But Daniel brings up, if WWE is dumb enough, your opinion, sir, to hire Punk back, Ziggler probably doesn't want to be around for it, because the last time we even heard of Ryan Nemeth was when Punk was telling him to piss off. Because his brother and Punk have heat, and Phil's wife was one of Ziggler's conquests, quote unquote. No, she was just in the faction. I don't think that he didn't raise the flagpole. Pause.
I was surprised that John Cena had been up that flagpole.
I didn't know that.
But anyway, and I get it. Listen, whether or not you like Punk, which again, on a business standpoint and a company that's looking to move the needle, I'm telling you, this is going to be a ginormous when they pull it off. But yeah, Dolph Ziggler didn't get himself released to avoid CM Punk. He was happy to collect his check. He was a professional, and I'm sure it would have been fine. But now he can go hang out with his brother on Collision.
Flagpoles, ayo, yeah, I know. Ayo.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what more. I mean, speaking of CM Punk, I thought Montez Ford had a great quote about Punk of, if they ask my opinion, I'm open to every single aspect, talent in the world. If he wants to make his way back this way, I guess we can have a battle and see who is the best person from Chicago. I like that.
Well, you could have added Ali and make it a three-way.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
do think they'll jump at Ali. They'll try and throw him in there. I think Ali would do well in like the X division or something like that. I think
I think
Ali is
he'd
one
be
of
all
those
right in
guys.
AEW. AEW that would just allow him to do whatever creative shit he wants to do.
Yeah, I
I
guess, but I think it's gonna be one of those things of like, oh, Ali's here, and then a month later it'll be like, what happened to Ali?
That's going to be with anyone that goes to AEW. Let's be
Right?
honest. That's what happened with Cole. That's what happened with Danielson. That's what happened with a
Mhm.
lot of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ruby went there, like, oh, the WWE's not using
Right.
her. She's gonna kill it in AEW. We were like, oh, she's here, and then she wasn't. Like, she's still
Right.
kicking around, but yeesh.
Steven saying Cedric teasing on social media going to NXT wouldn't be bad.
I like it. Cedric's great, man, and I love Shelton. I hate it. It's so sad. That's the one thing about this. Then don't get me wrong. I know we're analyzing it, but it's still sad at the end of the day. People that just lost a paycheck.
Right. But I still think a guy like Cedric, you would still want to keep around. Maybe even they do that with Dolph. Honestly, is you keep them as an agent, you keep
Yeah.
them as instructor, you have them in the PC. Like, we've got to get you out of your superstar contract so we can put you into this contract type of thing. Because we mentioned Shelton's 49, Ziggler's 43, and that's not saying that they still couldn't go if they wanted to. Well, it's even like a guy like R-Truth, like Ron Killings. When he hangs him up, if he ever gets fucking future endeavored, which knock on wood for that, I would still want to see him backstage at WWE events. of still trying to teach the guys and gals in the performance center. Still, here's what you could do. He'd be a great guy for fucking promo work and comedy shit.
Is there any chance they could try and bring in Haas and Benjamin?
Oh,
Haas has done some bookings over, not many, but done some over the last little while. I mean, if after watching Chris Jericho last night, Charlie Haas can wrestle, perfectly fine. Shelton Benjamin can wrestle perfectly fine. I mean, it would be a nice thing for FTR.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. Yeah, I was actually thinking, I thought you were going to go the other way with it, of bringing even Haas to be an agent backstage and bring Shelton, because look we've got Jason Jordan as an agent backstage. We've got Robert Roode, Nick Aldis, etc., all agents backstage right now. So I think,
is there a level of, like, I know people are sad, and the instant reaction with Twitter and the internet is always like, fucking assholes, we hate them all. But is there some level of mercy to this, that these people were just going from fucking city to city, enjoying catering, never getting a push, never getting a shine?
Were they even brought to those events? That's the thing.
We're just
at home,
hanging out at home.
That is a valid point to it, and that's the thing, is that's why, for everybody that always like, oh, you guys want AEW to fail or anything like that, or anybody that's out there like that, you have your alternatives, and that's what now these guys and gals are all freed up to go and actually get booked on TV, to get, take this booking, like Steph D. Lander put it the best of, your release from WWE can be the best thing that happened to you or the worst thing that happened to you. And I think how she's reinvented her whole career is a prime example of shit like that. Same thing with Cardona.
Absolutely. Yeah, hanging around with the Cardona is a perfect example of that. And again, other athletes have done really well for themselves. Even, like a TJP. I know we might not see him, or some people might not see him as much, but what he's done with United Empire and New Japan, he found himself. And again, I think the WWE has a history of, we'll release somebody, and if they go out in the world and they figure it out, we'll bring them on back.
Vince is gone. He was on the Pat McAfee show and said, I have no problem if I release somebody and they go and they blow up and then I bring them back. Like, he has no problem against that.
Yeah, and I think one of the last things we'll say on this, because I don't think there's any other release news coming down the pipeline. I was just quickly checking, but I think that for the people that think, oh my God, this is so bad for again, the WWE is in a very healthy position. They just signed a $1.4 billion TV deal, which we will talk about. This company is in a good place. And I know these cuts suck. My heart goes out to every single person that, got the bad news today. But again, they got so much talent. They didn't lose anyone. They didn't release any main roster staples right now. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe this person's gone.
Rather than look at the negative, look at the positive. Now these guys and gals have an opportunity to go and get themselves over somewhere else.
Absolutely. And maybe even Aaliyah finds herself somewhere. She goes to Impact and figures it out. Poor thing. I don't know. Maybe there's something there.
Right.
But we'll find out.
But story number 2.
Story number 2. Wow. That's 35 minutes gone. We got lots to talk about. Smackdown, as we just talked about, a $1.4 billion deal to move to the USA Network and stay on Fridays. So
October 2024.
October.
Am I the only one that is really thrown off by this whole narrative or idea that's come out that USA is not going to have Raw and NXT then because they brought over SmackDown? I don't get that. Where did that come from?
Because I believe they're selling the rights are separate. So
yeah.
Now that USA could say, well, we got SmackDown, we got the Friday night show. We're okay to let the other two go.
No,
I don't know.
No, WWE is working it perfectly because they're going to sit there and just jack up the price. They're going to sit there and angle this 100% of, well, you got to outbid them. We've got Disney and we've got Amazon also looking at us. USA is going to want to keep that fully tuned in. Does anyone else tune into USA for anything outside of WWE and maybe Law and Order?
And I don't
That's what I thought.
Right? I don't dispute that. But like you said, if they keep pumping up the price, it might end up USA could get outbid for Raw and NXT.
But the thing is, we'll never know. That's the thing about this is we're never gonna know. I'm saying if Disney offers WWE 1.5 billion for a fucking Monday Night Raw or whatever, anything like that, just throwing numbers out there, and Universal offers them 1.3 and WWE accepts the 1.3, we'll never know that the Disney offer was on the table because that'll never get reported.
I disagree with that. I think we've been privy to just about everything that happens in the wrestling world.
That is true. I feel we know what type of fucking toilet paper Vince McMahon uses at this point, I feel.
Right. We got them reporting on eye rolls backstage. People rolled their eyes when Vince said some stuff. I think, and again, I don't imagine if they're getting a 1.5 say offer for NXT and Universal caps out at 1.3, they're probably knowing the WWE, they're probably going to go with that 1.5 offer.
I'd keep it all together. You keep it all in a nice little
all
thing,
in one family.
100%. I think that's why SmackDown works moving to USA. I kind of liked it on Fox because they tried to treat it more as an actual sport than pro wrestling. Not saying pro wrestling isn't a sport, but they had that attachment to it, I guess. I think NBC Universal is going to want to keep everything in-house under one roof. They can all air it on Peacock. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. And I do think that there's definitely, again, it simplifies the issue. I wonder if there's any concerns that a different network will things change a little bit as far as what we see on TV, where you and I have said on many occasions that Fox was kind of doing it better. But I mean, we get a Friday night show. There was rumors that it could potentially move to Tuesdays, not the case.
No.
So yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. And I know a lot of people on the day that you announce a $1.4 billion deal, you also announce budget cuts. I get the optics. It's hard to defend it. It just is what it is. I mean,
that's the thing. It's a business. And especially now that they've merged, it's even more of a business. It had still that little a little bit of that family value vibe when it was always, the McMahon's in charge. But now that this is,
Corporate.
in with the
Oh,
same company as what runs the UFC and everything, this is 100% corporate fucking philosophy.
yeah, it's very much going to be. And like I said, when you get a new, like, if you're very close to the people around you in the decision making process, you have that leeway of like, we're kind of spending a lot on talent. No big deal. But when you're not that guy saying no big deal anymore, when you got other people looking over your shoulder being like, all right, we got to make this make sense. Like you're literally spending millions of dollars per year to
Mhm.
put these people under your umbrella, like as part of contracted wrestlers for you, and you don't do shit with them. So you got to do something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Of now, it goes to this is the corporate aspect of, Vince and the game might, yeah, but we like them, they're fun to talk to, so we'll keep them around, all of that. And Ari and them is just going to show up and just be like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Like, we would like to make some money on this $9 billion purchase that we just made.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's the same thing with the UFC. If you guys want to make the comparable, is you don't necessarily take, if you have Dana doesn't have a whole bunch of fighters sitting at home collecting checks for nothing. Like they're either they're in the plans for the fights that they owe. You have a 5-fight deal, you have a 6-fight deal, whatever it is, but there's plans for those fights, and they want to get those fights in. There's not someone sitting there for a year and a half going, this dude doesn't never fights, but I like him. We pay him, we keep him around. Just we don't want him to go to the other company. Like that, none of that shit happens there.
Right. But I do like some of these real quick here of Unbroken saying, I remember when USA was a nothing channel. It still is outside of WWE and Law Order. But where'd they get all their money from? Monk? No, it's because they're part of Universal. That's why. But that is hilarious because if anyone's of a certain vintage, you remember Monk being like the only thing on USA.
Yeah. That was
breaking news. WWE has just released the Spanish announce table.
Never. They're going to be there longer than Tamina.
Right. Them and the cockroaches. Where was it? Oh, well, Victor says this, and I haven't confirmed this. I don't know if this is true. WWE will also air 4 primetime specials a year on NBC. Ooh,
that's juicy. I like
it.
More content. I'm good with that. And I mean, again, that's the fun part about these negotiations is, tit for tat. Okay, we'll pay the money you want, but we want a little bit of stuff too.
Well, and this is also, it's a 5-year deal, which seems to be the standard for any sort of television rights deals. It's normally about 4 to 5 years every time. Right side, no sports interrupting WWE anymore. Now we have to still just watch it, worry about the Westminster Dog Show.
And again, I think in the realm of trying to make, wrestling was that thing, and we talked about it before. Once upon a time, you went everywhere and wrestling was in your face. Everybody was given the crotch chops and the if you smells and the whats and yeah, exactly. And I think the idea of getting primetime specials and having all this power behind you, you're pushing wrestling, and it's good for AEW, it's good for WWE, it's good for everybody, it's good for me and you. You're pushing it back into that forefront, back into that mainstream vibe, not just the neckbeards of the world's like wrestling and no one else. No offense.
Well, it to me, it's very much it just keeps everything under one nice, neat little package. Like I said, USA might as well just be the WWE network at this point.
Pretty much.
That was confirmed by ABC News. Fair enough. I had not seen it. Don't forget about Silk Stocking. Don't recall that one. And La Femme Nikita.
La Femme Nikita. Yeah, I remember that one.
A lot of, I think, young males of a certain age remember that.
You think I'd remember Silk Stockings or Slick Stockings?
Slick.
Right. I was in a live event of WWE. There was a little black kid beside me who said, "You're stupid, Jason." No.
Yeah, you have fun.
Yeah,
whatever you think you're doing.
Hey, Victor, you want to yank that?
Right. Bring back Saturday main event and Sunday night heat. Yes, give me Sunday night heat. I want Sunday night heat on the fucking Peacock network. Pause. I was a big fan of Sunday night heat constantly.
Bite you.
What? You didn't like Sunday night heat?
I did. I just the idea of going 7 days a week kills me.
Oh no, I didn't mean to retract my previous statement. Straight
No,
that from
I
the
agree.
record. No,
I agree.
I want to at least be able to watch the old ones, like with D'Lo Brown and everything like that.
Yeah.
Where he was the fucking mainstay of that.
No, absolutely. So yeah, I mean the big story, big deal. Again, we don't know how it's all going to play out. Doesn't really kick in until October 2024. But again, the WWE is having what some people would call an phenomenal 2023. Hard to deny.
Little bit.
Next story. I see somebody, Brent. Welcome. By the way, if you haven't been here before, we do this all the damn time. Elimination Chamber goes down under. Again, Emma was super excited, and then she wasn't. Poor thing.
That was the heartbreaking thing.
Oh,
today.
that was sad. I felt so bad. I really did. I know I'm kind of chuckling, but to read the tweets in succession of like a dream come true. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, that sucks. That hurts. But also that's why Rhea and I believe Buddy Murphy's actually been hanging out doing some stuff in Australia and everything in New Zealand lately, and why they're selling that Nia actually legitimately hurt these women, and the fucking internet went wild with it. It's all kayfabe.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They were gonna have Rhea announce this pay-per-view coming to Australia.
Yeah, big. I mean, and I like this stuff. Again, we talked about, the summer, the international summer that the WWE had, where they went on a tour, came down to Canada, went over to England, went across to Saudi, and we just saw them go to India. This is good for Australia. I think the Australians are going to blow the roof off the place. Again, they're not desensitized at all to getting these big shows, so it's going to be fun. And I think the environment's going to be Look at the size of that building.
Right.
But yeah, February 24th, 2024, according to WWE.com, this will mark WWE's first event in Australia since 2018 and the only PLE in the Asia Pacific region in 2024. Located in Perth. What else?
Yeah, because the last one that they did there was the Superstar Showdown or whatever.
Yep.
When they got heat for going to Saudi, so they moved one of their shows over to Australia to distraction.
Right.
I'm excited for it. I like that Elimination Chamber has kind of become the traveling show of we had it last year in Saudi, and now we're getting it in Australia. It plays into it being that spectacle of the Elimination Chamber coming down, and it's meant to be this big menacing match and everything.
Well, and what they're doing really well with it, and as per WWE, Nick, it says the 2023 Elimination Chamber from Bell Center in the Belle Provence, Montreal, Quebec.
Oh yeah, I forgot I went there.
Right? Yeah, there was the one before that was in Saudi. Broke multiple company records. Viewership of the event saw a 54% increase versus prior record set in 2022. So they break the record in 2022 and then beat it by 54% in 2023.
And this would mark the third year in a row that it's been held outside of the US.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, smart business, globally building. And we've talked a lot lately about, we were at Arthur Ashe last night and the decline over the last 3 years. Something like Chambers doing the complete opposite. It's growing every year and they're picking really good spots.
But this is why I would say, just on a side tangent real quick, of that AEW is much more competing with Impact, etc., than it is with WWE, because WWE can do shit like this. AEW is not going to sit there and turn around and every pay-per-view that they do is going to be, they're all in and be at some huge international stadium and everything.
Yep.
WWE can do that because it's a global fucking company.
Yeah. Bonkers asking why keep Tamina Xia Li if not being properly used. Xia Li, I hope they figure out something with her. She's excellent. I really like her.
She could be come 5 o'clock. Don't answer your phone.
That
feels so dirty to say. that like if you work for WWE around this time, allegedly don't answer your phone.
Yep.
Like that's fucked.
Well, dude, I worked for a company let go 620 people in one day in mass virtual cuts. It's crazy.
It feels so slimy and everything. Like it's so weird. Like I've never been in that type of a situation. I mean, obviously I've been let go or anything like that, but to like en masse of like to know ahead of time, like an NFL cut day. We've got to get down to a 53-man roster past this point. So if you get a phone call between this hour and this hour, good luck.
Yeah. Tamina's an interesting one. She's been around. I joke she's like luggage. You just keep her forever. She's become furniture in the WWE office. Yeah, I can't speak to the facts. I've always assumed that there was some type of pre-standing history with her father and Vince. They've had some interesting ties.
Accusations. Allegedly.
And we're going to talk about Vince and his allegations coming up here in a second. We're not done with Vince yet. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. Well, let's pop on to the next story.
Well, I like this last thing though, real quick. So I guess Kyrie is not coming
back
now. Oh yeah, she is.
And again, I think what happens
now could be when Kyrie's coming back because she's finishing up her dates with Japan.
And that's where people get like they again, I get it from a visceral knee-jerk fan reaction of like, oh man. But again, when you have it's like a lot of sports teams, right? When you have your budget and you're like, well, we were going to spend $50 million on our talent. We want to bring in Kyrie. We want to bring in Jade. We might bring in Punk.
Having a salary cap.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I believe Endeavor is going to enforce, like, they're not the Tony Khans of just like throw some money at it.
Right. Just.
So yeah, does this impact anybody they plan on signing? No, I mean, Nick said it earlier when we kicked this off. It feels like the annual purge. Like
it happens once a year, honestly.
Yeah,
it's always happened. That's how even half the people that are back, like an EO, a Dakota, a Cross, etc., a Bray Wyatt, even Wyndham, obviously before everything, but they were all featured and ever, and then still got brought back.
Right. No, it's again. I think they've always been open to that. They've always been open to. Yeah, we really don't like Drew McIntyre. The list goes on of people that shit. When we let you go, you were nobody, but you figured out. And a lot of people go, "Oh, they messed up or they missed out." Sometimes they just can't afford to keep people on the payroll. Well, they can afford. Don't get me wrong, but to keep everyone around till they all figure it out, right? Like,
but Drew McIntyre is a great example of he may not have really ended up being that. After doing Drew Galloway and everything, unless he had that time away.
Yeah.
Richard saying some of these releases sound like merger budget cuts. Others feel like saving money to spend it somewhere else.
I agree with Richard.
WWE is still hiring people.
Yep. And holding tryouts. They got
Come to the tryouts.
And we've seen this. So
what happened with Colby Corino?
I don't know what happened.
That's a story I want to figure out then, because remember it was pretty much all but set in stone.
Oh yeah,
he was coming to WWE, and then we had the talks about the hiring freeze and everything, and then he's done independent dates. I think he did an NWA date still after that.
Yeah,
and now it's not talked about of him going to WWE anymore. So that was just really weird. Speaking of really weird,
nice transition. Now, we will get into this in a second, but to your point, I think that I don't know what happened with Colby, and I do think we look at this, like they're holding tryouts, they're bringing in new talent. We see, I feel like there's a nice amount of NXT talent chomping to move up, and so we gotta, it's the circle of life.
Yeah, but I feel like there's been a good amount of NXT talent that moved up and then proceeded to do nothing. Like Odyssey Jones, like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I feel terrible for those two.
We might be talking about them later.
They were going to get pushed to the moon.
I'm really disappointed with Alba and Isla in particular. I thought they
not
had
them, but the way they've been booked.
Yeah, I mean, you dropped the belt to Ronda, and you could have just kept the belt with
She's
them.
about to leave anyways. Fuck it.
Yeah, just let her and Shayna fight without the belts being involved.
Right. Go on about your May.
What's up, Blazed? All right, let's talk about Vince and his little thin mustache, but
Zorro McMahon.
Zorro McMahon. Now, people have talked about apparently he's healthy or healthier. He's walking with a cane. I heard reports.
Yeah.
A lot of people made a big stink this week of him saying that
I'm Vince McMahon, damn it. This is the part where you clap.
Yeah, like I can't believe that a room of people would be openly disrespectful to Vince. I don't believe it. And every time you see videos,
they didn't clap out of disrespect. I don't think it was disrespectful. I think he was fucking around. He was joking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But people are trying to paint it as disrespect. Like Vince walked in the room and everybody was just like, oh, like you see, like I've seen tons of shit where even at when they did the Endeavor deal, there's Montez Ford and Belair, and you see the backstage stuff where they're hugging Vince. Like it's a funny dynamic, but he's apparently back a little bit. It definitely has a role and a strong role within Endeavor. We've talked about that. But a report from Wrestling News says a new SEC filing has shown light on a hint that Vince McMahon may want out of WWE after the recent acquisition by Endeavor that saw WWE merge with UFC. McMahon is still under investigation by the federal government as search warrants have served and executed by the feds after the federal grand jury signed off on subpoenas of McMahon to McMahon on July 17th. However, no charges have been filed. So, and I've read this from multiple sources. I got another source here, but he's still being probed. So there is potential.
Pause.
I chose that wording very purposely, by the way.
Okay, fair enough. We're still pause.
Yeah, if anybody deserves a probing in return. But Vince McMahon, yeah, as chair, so he's currently executive chairman of WWE's parent company TKO Holdings. He previously served. We know where he's been. So it was noted that the WWE UFC TKO merger carries risks. This includes the possibility that Vince McMahon will still face consequences as a result of ongoing government investigation. The status and the scale of those investigations are unclear, but it could be much broader than the one company and its one majority shareholder. So what essentially is happening here, and it could cause Vince to step away, is when he was the majority shareholder, when he held all the power and started fucking with the board and putting the people he wanted into place, and he's being investigated. Remember, they pushed him out and then he pushed himself back in. He can't do that with Endeavor. He is going, like, if they feel like this case gets bigger and bigger and it is still rolling, don't kid yourself, he's still being investigated, that Vince McMahon may either have to by choice or be forced to step away.
Oh, they're going to force him out. 100. If Vince McMahon leaves this, he's getting forced out.
Yes.
Daniel's saying that wasn't people hitting on Vince. Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
But no, I think this whole deal was set up of this merger. He precipitated this because he wanted to find his way back in. This was his way back in. And so now that's why it felt weird when people were saying about how he thought WWE had plateaued, and people thought that, like you said, with the eye rolls, and people thought that was kind of an out of touch statement. But this whole thing was forcing Vince back in. They're going to have to force his ass back out if this investigation gets too much.
But yeah, and I think that would be part of, like, I mean, when he signed paperwork to take the role that he's now in with Endeavor, I'm sure, again, one thing that will impact you when you're dealing with this shit is if it affects shares, if it affects stocks, if it affects the shareholders in any way, shape, or form, they will look to have that changed. And again, if this does blow up,
will they though? Will they? Because Ari's come out there and said openly that he's a fan of the WWE. He's a fan of Vince. His daughter works now for WWE, which was also announced, I guess, at that meeting as well, which people said felt kind of awkward. This whole thing feels very like, it's still going to be really interesting to see how this all pans out, but so far it's getting off on an awkward foot.
Awkward. I think it's got off on an amazing foot.
Well, as far as business wise, yes, but I'm saying as far as backstage of
Yeah, but yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I hear what you're saying. I just think some of the awkwardness perhaps is conflated. Like, again, context is king. What if Vince McMahon said to the room, I felt like we were getting a little stagnant as far as our growth, and this is our way of expanding and growing. Like, I find it funny. The same thing with the people who are reporting, like, oh yeah, nobody even clapped for the guy. They all basically fucking shrugged and booed when he walked in the room. You really tell me Vince McMahon walks in a room and people don't at least acknowledge him? Like, that blows my mind.
This man hates sneezing, and you're not afraid of him. But it does. I do get what you're saying. It does come down to the optics. It does come down to how it's presented and everything. And that's the thing that gets weird when it comes to talking about real business stuff with wrestling dirt sheets reporting it.
Yeah,
they're used to reporting. So and so got into a fight with this person backstage, and Tony feared for his life. Not actually like reporting on an actual business meeting or anything like that.
Yeah, and again, like again, a lot of it is
put their own spin too.
Yeah, a lot of it's conjecture, and the same thing we do here. We put our own little thought process in it. The difference, I think, between you and I is we don't pass it off as facts.
We don't say we're journalists
because we're not.
No.
But yeah, here's the thing with Vince is that when it was just him, when he was the big kahuna,
the big
at the table, he had a lot more clout. And now he's sitting with a board of directors. And if that board of directors and some of those that aren't in his pocket, they're in Ari's pocket, feel that this investigation, the probing, the SEC is really starting to impact things, they can look at Vince and say, hey, can you go take a hike? And that's what they said, the risk he did with this merger. Kind of like, remember what happened to his old buddy?
I was going to say, I was about to say, literally, did he Ted Turner himself?
He might have Ted Turner himself. Yeah,
with the Warner AOL the Warner AOL merger, to where.
Wait, I'm not.
He gambled so far. It's not the same circumstances, but he gambled so much of I'm going to get myself back in there. Damn it! Of now you've relinquished that bit of power to get yourself back in the door. They can still tell you to go fuck off.
Yeah, essentially, and so we'll see. That story still has to play out. Want to make it clear, folks. There's been no movement on the case or anything. We all know about the subpoenas. The investigation is ongoing. Nothing bad's happening. Anywhere you read that Vince is leaving WWE, they're just guessing. We're just reporting that it's
clickbait.
Vince still owns 2.86 of WWE stock, which is equal to $3 billion. Oh yeah, Vince is fine in that regard, even if he has to leave.
Yeah, I think he pretty much sold. Well, his 51% share of WWE stock. So he still owns like 49%.
It's ridiculous. But again, the rich getting richer, and I get it. I see the groundswell today, and it's a tough one, but just trying to step back and look at it analytically, it does make a lot of sense.
He'll Futurama himself when he dies and have his head put in a jar on top of a robot body. He's turning into Walt Disney.
Well, I listened to the episode of Kurt Angle on Joe Rogan. People put it out as clickbait that, Vince looked at me one day and said, my mom lived to 101. I'm going to live to 120. And people put that out like a headline. Vince plans to live to 120.
Did we not all expect that? We literally, I remember quoting when he actually had to resign the first time and everything, that we thought this man was going to pass away at gorilla position. Like, he will go down with the ship no matter what.
Yeah. No, very much so. And if anyone, the dude's still doing 3 a.m. workouts at 78. Like, it's insane.
Right.
What's up, Jacko? How you doing?
I heard Conrad has heat with Meltzer over lying about the brawl out.
Everybody has heat with Meltzer. And actually, here, nice transition. Thank you, Keyshawn. Well, we've been a WWE heavy story day today, but we'll touch on a little bit of AEW on the way out the door. Unfortunately, it's a botch of all things. Not big business news, but
Well, two
Moxley,
botches, technically.
2 botches technically. But yes, Meltzer has heat with just about everybody in the fucking industry. And again, that's just my own opinion. It's not
That's
fact.
fine. I don't care for Meltzer or Conrad, to be honest.
At least to me, Conrad doesn't come off full of shit. He just puts me to sleep.
Go and shop at ConradSaveYouMoney.com.
Well,
And
that's him doing
everything.
his
He
own.
doesn't come off like he's full of shit.
Right. Yeah, he definitely feels like a small time politician.
He's the con man that's open about being a con man. Meltzer's the con man that lets you fucking buy your membership and then sells you his snake oil.
Yeah. But yeah, Meltzer again, and it's the same thing. Like, he's one of the ones that, like, all the good news. Like, WWE is having a phenomenal 2023. We've said it multiple times, and he's still like, if you just read Meltzer, you would think that it was all doom and gloom and the whole place was falling apart.
Right. F. Dave Meltzer. Boo. My
guy,
friend said
man.
The Rock returned on SmackDown. Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
But so
Yes.
you want to talk about this? Because we watched this live just last night, and then we also had Adam Cole also hobbling around too as well.
yeah,
Which I thought that was so funny. We literally both noticed it. I think you saw it first.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's limping.
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. Yeah, so we saw it last night. I know a lot of people have seen the reports, but it was confirmed that he was seen by doctors backstage. The report says he suffered a mild concussion. There were some reports that I guess he was mad at the referee.
By the way, how do you have a mild concussion?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the levels, but I think
I'd like to order the hot concussion instead of the mild concussion.
Can I get the hot concussion?
Can I get the medium concussion instead of the mild?
Yeah, right. Actually,
fuck out of here. I'd like the Inferno concussion.
Now, it's funny because I can 100% see John Moxley doing the, like, when, like, coming to and being like, what the fuck do you mean you counted me out? I'm the champion. Like, Mox is going to win the belt back next week.
Well, no, to me, and shout out Stevie Richards, friend of the channel and everything, because he had a whole video go out just specifically on this spot. And
He got it out already?
Yeah.
All right.
I've seen a lot of other people talk about this, and I think honestly it was Josh Barnett had one of the best takes on this of how, love it or hate it, you need to, as a ref, treat this as a shoot. That's how refereeing in pro wrestling should be, is you treat it as a shoot.
Yep.
If it's gonna be a 3 count, if he's not gonna move, then you need to go with that 3 count. When you raise your hand up and everything, it just makes everything look ridiculous. It takes the fucking wind out of the sails, the air out of the room 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention it got dangerous here because Mox took this move and took it the wrong way, not once, but twice.
Yeah, like he basically, a limp noodle Moxley had to dip on a on a Michinoku driver twice. And that's where, again, we've talked a lot about the roles of the referee in AEW, and once upon a time, the roles of the referee were really important for multiple reasons. And like you said last night, Nick, this is one of those examples of the ref knows Moxley. He knows his mannerisms. He knows what he's like. When he goes to count that 3 and Moxley doesn't move, you got to run it as a shoot. You let your hand hit that 3rd time, and then you jump up and you ring the bell. You hold Phoenix's hand up and you go to commercial.
If you know he's supposed to move and he doesn't, then he's, guess what? Probably hurt. So you really need to look out for the safety of the athlete at that point too. And if he fucks up, then it's on him fucking up. It's not on anything you did.
Yeah.
If you treat it as a shoot and 1, 2, 3, and he doesn't kick at 3, that's on him, whether he's fine, whether he's hurt, anything. It's on him, not on you.
Yeah, like you can't anticipate it. And again,
the heat from that whole situation went to the ref too with that. It didn't stay with Phoenix or Moxley. Every bit of attention went to the ref at that point.
Oh, right away. And the fans in the building noticed. Like, we were watching it live, and we noticed right away that the crowd was like, wait, we know what we just saw. And like you said, the heat went to the ref. The ref fucked up. Boo. Like, they were on him, not realizing, guys, Moxley didn't move. Like,
yeah, and well, that's the thing, is especially on something like that, like that's like picture if Stone Cold took that Owen pile driver that injured his neck and everything, and then the ref counted a 2 count, so he's got to go up and do it again because we can't call another finish that fast. We're going to take that same move botched twice.
Yeah, and that's what kind of surprised me, that like Phoenix didn't like just roll him into a package or something, but gave him another Michinoku driver.
Right. Well, Daniel brings up an honestly valid point of he could have. Yeah, I can't say that word on national TV last night, but AEW's like nothing to see here. Yeah.
And again, we know that wrestling's a risk. We're not trying to be soft wrestling fans.
No.
But you literally have to understand that we want to see the health and safety. As much as people are mad today about people losing their job, I'd be very mad if a person lost their life or the ability to walk. And again, I know they accept that risk. The botch happened. You need the ref to control that situation. You need the guy in his ear to tell him, like, hey, count it, end it.
And even to be that confident, I know, again, we're all talking, it's easy to Monday night quarterback that and everything. But at the same time, you have to go with that. Like it at that point, it takes every bit of blame out of you. You had no other choice but to do it. To me, this is the closest equivalent to like when Tua last year, Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins quarterback, got rocked, got KO'd, stiffened up, and they let him go back into the game and everything like that.
Yeah.
This is this level of he was clearly incapacitated. If he misses his spot, he misses his mark, you run with it, and you let him then take it again.
Yeah. And listen, man, it's tough. Like I had a time where when I had a player that played for me at once upon a time, and they got noodled, and then the player said they were fine. The trainer was pissed. The player got to go back out, scored the next shift, and the trainer was still livid of like, I don't give a fuck what he did. He was out, and it's dangerous. And you learn from that. Like, we all make mistakes in the heat of the moment, and that's on such a lesser scale, but you need the refs, you need everything around this. And I could see Moxley getting up and being pissed off. What do you mean? I'm nails. I can't believe you. What?
I don't give a shit, John. I'm looking out for you.
I don't give a shit, John.
Sorry, John, but I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm making sure you're safe, you're healthy, cool. You want to take fucking skewers and shards and everything, you can have that. You need someone to step up and be the fucking adult in this situation.
Yeah, and again, what's worst case scenario, Nick? You have another match, you give the belt back to the right guy. No harm,
right.
No
worst
foul.
Case Ontario. It's not like you're heavily booked into this fucking match anyways.
Yeah,
this wasn't the build. This wasn't the end of WrestleMania 39, or anything like that. And Cody gets KO'd, or like with Brock and Taker gets KO'd mid-match and everything, and then you got to call everything on the fly.
Yeah, or
that wasn't this at all.
Yeah, Brock eating the fucking mat on a shooting star. We talked about Kurt Angle hitting the concrete on a pedigree. Doesn't remember a thing. Times have changed, though. We've learned so much about CTE and head injuries and impacts. I really wish that Moxley didn't take that second Michinoku driver.
The same guy who says he has the arthritis of a 70-year-old should not be sitting there and fucking getting mad when the ref, the ref should have done what was best for protecting this man. So
and I mean, listen, and on a quick side note and an unfortunate note, a gentleman who's had struggled with head injuries as well comes running out to save his buddy in the main event last night in kind of a nothing spot. He really didn't need it, but he hops off the ramp, and people pointed out that ramp's taken out a couple people now. But he jumps off the ramp, lands awkwardly, and ends up hobbling. Now, he was seen on crutches. He was gone. He went to the hospital. I haven't heard any follow-ups as far as an MRI or an assessment of his bones, or an X-ray assessment of his bones. What the fuck am I? But an X-ray. So we don't know what the outcome is yet. I hope Adam Cole's well, because it will really put a stomp in MJF and AEW's momentum at the top of their graph.
But can we just say it, the past 2 shows to come out of AEW, we had Collision to where we have and Scene and everything start off like that. backstage, and then they later
Multiple
on
times.
had to play into it to cover up the first one.
Yeah.
And now we've got obvious botch followed by hobbly botch. It's starting to look very much, the wheels are starting to fucking lose tread here when it comes to AEW.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like amateur elite wrestling.
I start to feel like what's his name there from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Yo, what's up, Crossman Wrestling? Good to see ya. Keyshawn allegedly Mox told. Yeah, I imagine.
I
Now,
don't care.
I don't know if he did or not because he was noodle, but I'm sure he did. Like if Phoenix knew he was limp, he was going to be like, "Are you sure?"
Someone needs
But
to be the fucking adult and tell
yeah,
John, sit down and shut up.
yeah, like roll him into a small package, dude. Like we've seen other matches end like stupid because
Right.
of things not going well. But I have the sense to pull away, right?
As I'm sure you can say to this, and I'm sure other people can say to this, as a former athlete and everything like that, sometimes you need to protect the athlete from themselves.
Yeah, because 9 times out of 10,
they
sorry.
just know nothing but go out there and compete.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they know they don't care whether they're
Mhm.
fucking hobbled, whether they're not with it. They know get to the end line. That's it.
Yeah, and again, if you're playing with, a bandage on a sore hamstring or groin or ankle, we've all played hurt. We've all been battled through, minor injuries. Your noodle, we've proven with modern technology that your noodle, your brain, it matters. You really got to pay attention. And again, smashing it and smashing it and smashing it, it's not good for your longevity. And I know Mox wants to be the toughest guy in the world, but it would be better for everybody if he was an old tough
I was
guy.
gonna say, what's really tough is being the guy that still remembers when you say you have the arthritis of a 70-year-old man. Well, let's make sure you get to 70 there, John. How
Yeah,
about that?
no shit. So it's unfortunate. Phoenix didn't mean to make it happen. And I know
Oh no.
hey, all the fans going freaking out about like Nia Jax for the last couple days. And then we start seeing botches come out everywhere. And you're like, it happens to everybody. Stop picking
If
on
it could
people.
happen to me, it could happen to you, to quote J-Rock.
The Lucha Bros have been involved in at least 3 major injuries in this company. Ask Dante Martin, ask Moxley. There was one other one that just slipped my mind. And again, I think they're great. I don't think they're to blame at all. It went wrong. Moxley's a big guy. Phoenix is a little bit smaller. Moxley's head hit the ground. You want to protect him. He tried. He had his hand on his head. It's just, his torso's longer and it didn't work out. But I do expect better from AEW as far as trying to control that situation.
That's the thing, is it's the situation itself sucks. But it's how you go controlling that situation. And they really, I know it's a blink of the moment type situation.
Yeah.
You have a split second to decide that, but you've got to instill it in your referees, call it as a shoot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't need your Aubreys or anything like that that's out there making sure they're the highlight of the fucking match or anything like that. Call that as a shoot. You are there to be viewed as an official.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where, and again, there's options, right? Like Moxley comes to and they decide, you know what? Later tonight, this match that ended, unfortunately, we're whatever it is, you have options. We can come back next week. You can come back 2 weeks from now. And again, I just think you need everything kind of organized. And then when you talked about it, we're getting even botchy production moments. We talked about it with Tony Storm's. Like Kevin Dunn would have never taken we don't praise Kevin very often around here, but he would have never taken that shot of Tony Storm not hitting the turnbuckle.
Yeah. It's the thing, is it's the little things that really, when you want to try and punch above your weight class, it's the little things that really separate you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that John was able to be okay from this, because this could have ended a lot worse, honestly. And I'm still surprised that Adam Cole is just snake bitten ever since he's gone to AEW. I feel of literally this man's hopping off the apron and turns around and now he's on fucking crutches.
Well, and I feel like part of it is because the expectation, and I know this one was a fluke. He wasn't doing a big move or anything, but I do think some of the other injuries we see with some of the athletes of, like a Julia Hart getting a concussion. There's probably not very many chances for a Julia Hart to get a concussion in the other company. Like she's not getting dashed off
Right.
the world.
Anna Jay is not taking a fucking bomb off
Yeah.
the
Jeff Hardy's not
the
jumping off
stage.
all the
Yeah.
furniture. You're right. You got Jeff Hardy not going crazy. Like
Sting's not
it's
taking a
different.
ladder spot onto tables on the outside in WWE.
Right. AEW has no veteran. They have tons.
They fired him.
They pushed a lot of it away.
They fired one and they drove the other one to the other company.
Right. Ernest and tried. Arn, Tully, Punk, Mark Henry, Big Show.
That's the thing,
Regal.
though. It's the minority in that locker room. So you either have to be able to survive that many people coming at you, or you just turn and go the other way. Because Mark Henry, to me, I feel he's gone so far into being the AW like cheerleader a bit, when it's like, I know that deep down the guy that I know that's Mark Henry would not put up with a lot of this shit.
No, and I think Mark's good because he always throws in like the little sly comments without like directly being like that. You know, he'll go around it a little, and then Bubba's usually the one who's like, "Yeah, man, just punch him in the face." Like,
well, boy, yeah, just fuck him up.
So, but I think that's it for now. I mean, I yanked you in on your birthday, and
so that's why we don't stop. The wrestling don't stop. The news don't stop. And I don't want my birthday to be synonymous with people getting fired from WWE.
Well, apparently your birthday's synonymous with one of my heroes, Stephen King.
Yeah, like, I also share a birthday with Stephen King. I share a birthday with Bill Murray. Yeah,
that's a good one.
I share a birthday with Uncle Joey from Full House, Dave Coulier, proud Canadian. And I also share a birthday with Carlton from Fresh Prince.
It gradually went downhill. It started really
high. I know.
No,
I could mention Ricky Lake or Faith Hill, but yeah.
Oh, dude, Faith was like
this man just got perked up all the way.
Gotta have faith.
Well, I guess it would be nice if you would hit subscribe. And
after listening to you guys for 10 minutes, I can say I like the show. Keep up the good work. No generic BS. Crossman, that's what we say. We give us 30 seconds. You took 10 minutes, which we like, but you give us 30 seconds, we'll turn you into a fan for life. And we do this all the time, and not just the news updates. This is just a little side hustle. Our big bread and butter is tonight, our live stream. Our Impact crew will be in the house, Ringside Anthony and Luna Havoc.
Impact 1000 night 2.
Yeah. And then, of course, me and this pretty face will be back on Friday to give you Smackdown and Rampage. And we got tons coming your way, folks. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We appreciate the love, Crossman, and everybody else for joining us on this wonderful Thursday afternoon. I'm not even supposed to be here Thursday, right?
Well, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. At least I'm not getting featured in Everett, I guess, today. Same birthday with Tom Hanks and Kevin Nash. Daniel says, Nick does the Carlton dance in the shower. How do you know? You watching me, sir?
You probably
You're not wrong, but how do you know? Hey, guys, I'm shocked. Also got a question. Well, make it fast, Nathan, because we're heading towards the door. KJ and Nick, will you be back after 5 p.m. if WWE does NXT releases? Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
It
depends on who. Depends on
who. That's exactly my sentiment. It's a solid maybe. Depends where dinner is at the time. We'll let you know. But if we're not here to cover the next round of releases, you will have Luna Havoc here at 8 p.m. to give you guys an update on all the stuff that we missed. And Anthony. Well, Anthony comes in a little bit after 8, I think. So maybe they're both here at 8. So tune in tonight. If you don't get us again in a little bit, we weren't planning to be here for 90 minutes today, but
we talk a lot.
Appreciate it. And we do.
Happy birthday, Nick. Want your special gift now or later? Pause. Accusations. I don't know.
He's already getting
the name of Magic Mike are you about to do, Boston?
But with all that being said, we are going to head out, folks. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us, and come back. Like Nick said, Impact 1000. Happy birthday, my guy. And
go get your dinner. Come back. Come watch some Impact Wrestling with us. Bye.
Yeah. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Join the family. Bye.